What's good? What's revvin'? It's your boy Moto Phoenix here with Godspeed from Laugh Now Ride Later, and we are working on a 2010 MV Agusta F4 1000. We are replacing a stator, the actual stator itself. We're going to be showing you on how to actually take off the stator housing. Everything else is pretty much self-explanatory as far as taking off the driver seat, the passenger seat, the rear tail fairing, and the side fairings that go underneath the gas tank and the intake housing of the motor. But the pieces or the part that we have not been able to find, or nobody at least has any answers to as far as in detail, is how to actually get the housing off, because there's no special tool that it seems like that you can just buy locally, and when you look online it's not clear on what type of tool takes that off. So we actually got a tip from one of the local stores, auto stores, saying to insert some bolts inside the housing to allow us to wedge something in there to keep the housing from turning, and it'll give us something to go against so that we can use the breaker bar to actually break the stator nut that is keeping the housing on there. So stay tuned. There's two holes that have threads in them. I said, oh, duh. Thread the bolt in there, lodge something in it, and then I have the extension here, breaker bar, and then once I saw that I went in one direction, it was tightening up. Right. I said, okay, turn it the other way, and it just came off like butter. Okay. So let's go underneath here. You probably gonna have to come in on the other side. Might have to turn the light on. I'm not sure. Nah, we good. All right. So this is the stator bolt and washer, crush washer here. Okay. You can tell which way it goes on just because it's kind of thin. So hopefully we don't need a new one of these, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's how I was thinking, crush washers.
But if you zoom in closer to here, these two locations have threads inside the holes, and none of these other holes are threaded. So when we were trying to find on the threads, how can we get that stator housing off, because the cover came off no problem. So MV Agusta, the company, there is nothing on the internet about how to do this. There's no service instructions that we could find universally on how to do this. So we're making this video for anybody else that has maybe a Brutale or the F4 or anything that is similar to this particular design setup, where the stator is actually underneath the gas tank, underneath the intake housing area, so to speak, behind the rear suspension component underneath the seat. This is the best way that we found to do this. Put the two bolts in here, and you're going to insert it like such right here, and the direction that we turned it for this, come on, fumbling. I want to show how this goes on. So again, if the engine's spinning this way, the nut has to go that way. Just make sure. Actually, the other way. The engine is spinning this way, the nut has to get threaded on this way. So yep, so the net is actually going on to the left. Normally you left loosey, righty tighty. Right. In this situation, reverse threads. Left is to loosen, left is to tighten, right is to loosen. So in this instance, again, it was on like this. And just to show you real quick, so once I discovered that, okay, going in this direction was to tighten, I went this way, it turned the housing onto this quarter shaft right here. It's just a quarter extension for your socket. Once I went that way to actually break the bolt, then obviously it comes off like so. This was the easiest and fastest way to do it once we discovered after being out here for what, 2-3 hours?
2-3 hours.
Yeah. Right? So again, but if it was something online explaining that, hey, the housing has 2 threaded holes in there that you can insert, I think it's M8 if I'm not mistaken, metric 8 bolts, then you would just have to lodge something in between the bolt and the engine itself, and then when you turn it, it's going to apply pressure, and then all you do is just put a little body weight on it. It breaks the nut. It comes off easy. You don't have to use any electric tools, any air guns or anything like that. Literally just a breaker bar extension, and you just lean into it and it comes off, no problem. And so now we're about to actually go through with changing the actual stator by taking the cover off itself, and I'll just show y'all the magnet. Normally on alternators are pretty strong, so you have to literally muscle the thing off. It is easier, I believe, from what I was reading on the forums, to drop the engine a little bit to get better leverage, but you can do it while it's inside the frame of the bike. It's just you either have to have baby hands or you have to be extremely patient and just literally wiggle this thing off. I'm using these needle nose type pliers here to give me a little bit more leverage, at least on one hand. I can't use both hands with the same tool, but at least on one side, it actually give me a little bit of leverage. And I'll show y'all how real the struggle is on trying to get this off. So one hand over top, one hand in the bottom, and I'm just gonna try to wiggle it off. The magnet is fighting against me, so I am pulling, and then I don't know if you can see, but there is a gap to where this is literally sitting out of the engine, and then now it's completely out. And then we'll just work this out, and it's literally a couple screws on the inside to take the actual stator slash alternator piece out, and then we just bolt it back in and do everything the reverse way. That's it. So we wanted to make this video because, again, there's absolutely nothing on YouTube, at least, or on Google that shows us, it gives us an example in details like this on how to actually do this. So check out my boy Laugh Now Ride Later, Godspeed. Check out his page on YouTube. Go to his Instagram. Check him out on Facebook. Again, it's Laugh Now Ride Later, and the owner's name is Godspeed. Check him out, and we're gonna have more content on this beauty right here. We're trying to get everything situated and ready so that more content can come from this. All right, guys. Moto Phoenix. Peace.